Bentornati! Welcome back, and it was a fantastic weekend in Serie A. And as we said, the South is rising. Currently sat at the top of the Serie A table, we have Napoli and Roma, the Southern rivals, on the same points, 15 points, won 5, lost 1. Incredible weekends for them. They both came from a goal behind to get that win as well. Two teams that have impressed us the most so far this season, and we're going to be looking at them a little bit. Let's start with Napoli taking on Genoa. On our Patreon episode, Adam, we were talking about the potential that the Azzurri has in terms of strikers and who could be filling this shirt in the coming years. Well, someone else is kind of announcing themselves at the moment, and that is, of course, Jeff Ekator. 2 goals already this season. And what a bloody finish. Absolutely unbelievable.
It was an incredible finish. You've got to hand it to him, especially in a weekend where a lot of strikers went missing when it came to chances, which we'll allude to later on. But yeah, what a fantastic effort. I have to say that move was so delicious in many respects, especially against a Napoli side that they seemed a bit tired, it's fair to say, Rory. But a lot of credit to Genoa, who moments in the starting stages of this game almost conceded very quickly. There was a mix-up at the back between the centre-back and the goalie for one of the instances. I want to say it was perhaps Marcandelli. I'm not 100% sure if it was him, but him and Leali kind of mixed up and almost conceded an early goal in the favour of Napoli. But what I want to also highlight, not only just was it that finish, but actually the play by Norton Cuffy even. Him being able to bomb down that right-hand side, and he looks superb. He's been called up to the England under-21s for this kind of international break, but that was a fantastic move from him, really probably showing some signs of maturity since his Arsenal days as well, I have to say. And I was really impressed by that.
It's really exciting to see because he came over as a kind of right wing back, and he always played right back for the Arsenal youth teams and when he first came to Genoa. And they've obviously seen that, I think, defensively he was never that strong, but going forward he was always quite threatening. And I think this might be, he got an assist earlier in the season as well, I think. So I think he's been quite productive, and he's been one of the standout players in this Genoa team. Now, obviously, this is still a Genoa team that I had to remind myself, Adam, I think they still haven't won a game this season.
They have. No, I think, unfortunately, it is just the way that Genoa have been playing. They haven't been terrible by any stretch of imagination, Rory, but they haven't been consistent in seeing out games. And I think this is a nod towards that experience that they've got within this squad. I did feel that, Patrick Viera hadn't got maybe the best of talents within that squad to see him through this season. Sure, there are some recognisable players that have played over the course of the last 2 seasons, but they have needed that investment. And I think that's very apparent by not just this game, but previous games whereby they just don't seem like they're going to win games. And I think this is a real big concern from my point of view if you're at Genoa's kind of point of view. And I was looking at it, last time that they actually won a game was back in last season when they won against Bologna 3-1 away. This was a 3-1 win on that day, but that was back in May last season. So they haven't won a game, apart from obviously the Coppa Italia ties, which they've obviously won domestically in the league. They have not won since that day against Bologna last season. I was trying to do some quick maths in the background, but unfortunately we haven't been able to quickly work out how many goals they've actually scored in that time. But I have to be honest, looking at the scorelines, they haven't been kind of like huge scorelines. And if they have been, it's because they've conceded so many goals, Rory. So I think that shows you the element of the issues at Genoa. Not only are they not scoring a lot of goals, but they're conceding quite a bit, and it's not just by the odd goal here and there. And I think that's the worry for Patrick Viera and Genoa. I think they are firmly, as I see it now, in a relegation fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's weird because we kind of put them down as mid-table again this year because they were so comfortable last year after Patrick Viera took over, and it looked like the ship was stable in a bit, and it just... Yeah, they're still a team that on the day I would back them to cause problems for people, but they're just, they've scored 3 goals in 6 games, but they've conceded 9. Like, it's just not good, is it? And even in this game, despite that unbelievable move, the unbelievable finish, the comeback kind of felt inevitable. And it says a lot that with Napoli playing midweek, they still had the energy and they still had the time. I know there was a bit of like switch around with the players and stuff, but they still had the energy to kind of ultimately get over the line. And actually, even in the first half, Napoli had enough chances that they probably should have scored. Like they had a few, like Leali is a very good goalkeeper and he made a few saves, but the comeback always felt inevitable. But still an okay performance from Genoa, but I am concerned about where they're going to get these wins from or these goals from. But let's take a look at Napoli. They did get the comeback. They did get the 3 points, a massive 3 points, because it was important, I think, to into the international break, be on top, level on points. I think that's a huge, huge moment. And of course, who gets the first goal? Arguably their player of the season so far for me. And that's not just because we're obsessed with him, but I think he's genuinely been very good. Anguissa with the header to level the game. I put to you, Adam, that he has been Napoli's best player so far this season and that he's been the key. He's scored, he's got a good few goals now. He's been key in everything they've done. He continues to be so key for this team.
Yeah, I think on the balance of the consistency of the other players, then yeah, I would argue that he has been quite pivotal. I think obviously the problem we've got is Conte even alluded to this. This is going to be a tougher season compared to last season because they've got the Champions League, they've got the league. He's got a bigger squad of players. Unfortunately, he has got injuries now off the back of this as well. So Politano in particular coming off injured and Stanislav Lobotka, they're kind of big-ish players in that system. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages the next few weeks in particular, because you think if they are muscular injuries, then they're 3 to 4 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
And then we've got to see how he plays around with this. We obviously have the offset of Lukaku was already out for 3 months. So we're kind of expecting maybe Lukaku comes back into the frame from, say, January onwards. So he's got to be very shrewd in terms of the type of players that he's got to play around with. Don't forget, he's got still some biggish games to come up. I believe Inter have got to take on Napoli soon, so it won't be very long before they actually have to play one of the bigger sides as well. But they did come through this, like you alluded to, and that was a big performance from Anguissa. You're going to have these kind of performances. I think it helps that someone like Rasmus Højlund as well, new energy in terms of the team as well. Spinazzola is another one that I want to call out here as well, because coming on, he looks stronger than ever. Off the back of Politano's injury, he's called up to the national squad. And you know what? I think, there is depth there compared to previous Napoli squads. I think there is depth, and that's the one thing that I would allude to. I think that's what is going to help them this season.
Well, they've got the deepest squad in Serie A, right? They've spent a lot of money this summer. They've brought in a lot of players. Like, Conte cannot complain about not having the players or not having the squad depth. Like, Lobotka's out, Billy Gilmore comes in. That's not bad, right? Politano's injured. Maybe David Neres gets to start more consistently. Yeah. That's pretty good. Or you play Noah Lang out there, or like he's got options where you can fill in for these injuries. Yeah. Right? Okay, Lukaku's out. Okay, you've got Højlund. So I think I don't really worry about the depth of their squad at all. I think they should be fine. Like the players they're bringing in are of a similar enough level to the ones that are missing that you think they can continue through this. And I think this is what could get them across the line for the Scudetto, really, is that they can throw more players at you at the end of games than most of the Serie A teams can, right? If it's 1-1 in the 80th minute, they can throw on two wingers that are better than what Roma are going to throw on or what Inter are going to throw on, right? So I think the depth is absolutely there, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that I thought this was an impressive comeback and overall a pretty impressive performance. I think Napoli created lots of chances. We did get another KDB and Højlund link up, but unfortunately it was offside. We did almost get another one there. But Højlund did get the winner in the end from an Anguissa shot. He was there to tap it in. I'm delighted to see how well Rasmus Højlund has started this season and how he's fitting into life at Napoli. I think the Napoli fans would probably, if you ask them, they'd probably say they're surprised by how well he's done so far. This is kind of credit. I know it's also helped by the Man United curse, but this is credit to Conte, right? That he's able to almost seamlessly get this striker who was very good in Serie A back to being, if not very good, quite good already, right? It's impressive.
Potentially, but I also think maybe Rasmus himself will kind of allude to that he's had better opportunities with this system, with these players, which he wasn't getting at Man United. So I don't think necessarily there was a bad player. I think if you remember the Rasmus Højlund that was at Atalanta and had that breakthrough season, we could see there was a talented player. He just needed time. I think in hindsight, he might reflect he should have stayed in Serie A. He should have maybe prolonged it, stayed a few more seasons or an extra season to develop his game. And then who knows what kind of striker he could have been after that season. But for me, he knows the league. I think there is a talented individual. This will give him a lot of confidence. And that's what Conte's essentially done. He's given him confidence to go out there and play his natural game. He's working for the system as well, more importantly, Rory, because he is being the sole man, but he's thriving under the fact that he's got some really quality individuals behind him that are able to provide him with the service. And I think that's the difference between sort of the mentality that he had at Manchester United versus here. There is obviously that element of prestige with Man United, them supposedly being a bigger equipped club than potentially Napoli, but actually I think you can see that he's thriving from being in a different environment where with a coach, more importantly, actually, that trusts him. That is the key here, and I think that's where he's thriving right now.
I think it's also interesting the different role that he's being asked to play. So a lot of the goals he's scoring, he's running through on the last man, he's chasing a ball through, and that's what we saw him do at Atalanta as well, right? Those quick transitions, run through onto the ball and finish. At United, it kind of felt like he was being asked to maybe be like a target man, hold up guy, like a bit more physical game, get the flick-ons, bring other people in, and that's just not really his game. Not at the moment. He's still a very young player. I'm sure that he could eventually add that, but his strength is really running onto the ball, kind of holding the defender off and finishing. So I think there's a very different role that he's being asked to play as well, which I think is a credit to Conte that he's highlighted, well, I know how to use him, right? Whereas at United, I don't think they were using him correctly. But I'm just very, very pleased at how well he's doing and how well he started his career in Serie A. That result did put Napoli top or joint top. No, they are top, and keeps them in the driving